Hey turn-based lovers, this is Leaf and we are back with yet another video, this time going over the latest expansion for Sword of Convallaria, a game that we featured a few months ago on this channel. Now, quite some time has passed since I last checked the game out, but thankfully, the people behind the game have given us access to an account that allowed us to experience the expansion for ourselves before its release to share it with you guys. And I'd like to thank the developers for giving us this opportunity and for sponsoring this video. For those eager to jump into the details of the Night Crimson expansion, you can scroll to this timestamp instead. But before we explore the game's expansion, I first wanted to briefly talk about what kind of game Sword of Convallaria is. This is mostly to inform those who are watching who haven't heard of the game as of yet. So, Sword of Convallaria, or SOC, is a fairly new free-to-play gacha game from XD, the very same people behind the free-to-play cross-platform ARPG Torchlight Infinite. Sword of Convallaria is an SRPG in a similar vein to games like Tactics Ogre, Final Fantasy Tactics, and Fire Emblem, but is designed with free-to-play systems and gacha mechanics in mind. SOC religiously follows the SRPG formula down to a T. Tragic themes? Check. A cast of interesting characters? Check. Turn-based tactics? Check. And basically everything you'd normally see in a Japanese SRPG, accompanied by visually appealing 3D-like pixel art style and eye-catching visual effects. When I last played SOC around 4 months ago, there was this game mode called Spiral of Destinies, which I really liked. This mode features a completely different set of rules from what you'd experience from The Fool's Journey, which is the game's main story and is also inherently very different from every other game mode that this game has to offer. And I'd argue that this mode is also the main selling point of this game. SOC's story and dailies are pretty much your standard gacha experience, but Spiral of Destinies lets you play through an actual SRPG experience, complete with its own separate progression, story, and handcrafted gameplay. So let me explain some of the key differences between the game modes. The Fool's Journey is a linear story mode that serves as a guide for new players to the world and gameplay of Sword of Convallaria. It's a system that exists in every gacha game really, and is more of a device to push early progress forward. Aside from that, there's also the Crossing Worlds game mode, which are the daily activities for farming materials to upgrade your units and a bunch of limited timed events with mechanics ranging from daily logins to one-off battles that can be pretty challenging. The Spiral of Destinies, on the other hand, is a completely separate game mode, and I'd even argue feels like a completely different game altogether, and is where the chunk of this game's charm, gameplay, and storytelling actually comes from. In this mode, you'll be managing a small mercenaries guild in a small town where every activity advances a clock system while certain important events happen on specific dates marked on the calendar. This is mostly similar to the social system found in the Persona games, and is generally a system that forces you to progress rather than having you sit on a bunch of side quests without making any progress to its story. This way you can still grind for equipment and XP, but the game essentially forces you to tackle the story at some point, whether you like it or not. And the biggest part of this game mode is the storytelling. Spiral of Destinies is filled with stories of what-ifs that serve as alternative scenarios from a different timeline branching out from the main story. Here, your decisions shape the flow and the ending of the story depending on your starting conditions and your choices throughout each run. It's actually not a bad idea to think about this mode as a roguelike, as you'd have to restart from scratch every time you want to discover a new ending. And the storytelling in this game is absolutely phenomenal, and even the gameplay feels impactful and ultimately satisfying. But the reason why I'm even talking about this game mode in the first place is because the new story expansion for Sword of Convallaria is specifically for Spiral of Destinies, so I wanted to set some expectations before I go into the crux of this new expansion.
卒業したらウェーブラン治安局の機動隊に入るつもりなの。なら、私も一緒に行こう。ウェーブランを変えたいと思ってるのはあんた一人だけじゃないからさ。
Getting the how does Spiral of Destinies work out of the way, let's now talk about its latest expansion, the Night Crimson storyline. This is an entirely new story told within the universe of Sword of Convallaria via the Spiral of Destinies game mode. This brand new chapter of Spiral of Destinies introduces players to an entirely new side of Waverun City, specifically one that existed a few good years ago from the main storyline. This new campaign focuses on the intricate past of two fan-favorite Sword of Convallaria characters, namely the founder of the Sword of Convallaria mercenary group, Rowia, and the astute and decisive commander of the Hanged Man, Safiya, chronicling their close relationship in the past and their activities as rookie investigators in Waverun City. I don't really want to spoil too much because there is a really gripping story to be witnessed here, and there's a lot of mysteries to be discovered, so I want you guys to be playing the expansion to experience it for yourselves in its raw form, untainted by any spoilers. What I can talk about, however, are some of the new systems in place for this new expansion. The Night Crimson storyline features two distinct mechanics that augments its gameplay and storytelling. Firstly, the expansion adds a new phase during battles called the Breaching phase. This phase lets you reposition your units or use anti-overwatch abilities like the Flashbang before the fight begins, which is especially useful in this game mode. Considering that the game puts you at odds with seemingly unreasonable challenges throughout the campaign if the breaching phase didn't exist, but it ultimately does make sense considering the theme of the expansion. Now, the second interesting addition to this game mode is the detective-style investigative gameplay present throughout its narrative. The expansion lets you explore Waverun City through means of having you investigate crimes and unrest within the city as rookie investigators. I was actually quite surprised by what they've presented here, and while the investigation aspect of the game and its storyline is still mostly linear, it was still a pretty engaging experience overall. Now, as I said, I don't really want to spoil anything to you guys, so I'll just leave it to you to explore the story further. For now, let's talk about some of the other things that comes with the expansion. The new Night Crimson expansion also introduces the new SP character system to the main game, introducing alternate versions of beloved characters featuring new visuals, new abilities, and entirely new playstyles. The first unit to get this treatment is none other than Rowia, showcasing the younger, still incredibly idealistic but more optimistic for the future side of her. This coincides with the new Night Crimson expansion, with this SP version of Rowia being one of the two featured characters. This means that you'll be able to use the Night Crimson version of her for the main game modes. The SP character system takes existing characters and introduces new ways to play them, which keeps gameplay fresh and engaging. There is also a new skin coming to the game for Gloria, so for the folks who like collecting skins for their favorite characters, Gloria's Midnight Waltz skin is also now available, showcasing some pretty eye-catching visuals of her fair maiden appeal in contrast to her usual battle-ready aesthetics. With this new expansion comes more limited time events that give out a variety of rewards ranging from upgrade materials to secret fates. To give you some examples, there's the Starlit Treasures, which is a daily login event that gives a free legendary trinket as one of its rewards, and there's also the Waverun Tournament where you can earn some exclusive items and avatar frames. And there are many more limited time events coming to Sword of Convallaria throughout the course of the Night Crimson expansion. If you have watched the Night Crimson preview, then you've probably already seen these, but if you haven't yet, then the new expansion also showcases the Japanese version of the game's Never Apart soundtrack, which directly ties into the Night Crimson story. This version is performed by popular Japanese voice actress Hikasa Yoko, known for a wide array of Japanese anime and is the Japanese voice actress for Safiya in Sword of Convallaria. Have a quick listen to the song.
はもう昔
She also answered some of the community's questions during the preview with a quick Q&A, giving some insights on the game, her performance, and on the new soundtrack. Aside from that, SOC's game director also addressed the community, talking about the new expansion and thanking players for their overwhelming support for the game.
前进最大的动力，大家的每一条鼓励、每一条建议、每一条意见，都会让铃兰的世界变得更加美好。愿在未来的旅途中，我们能和大家一起在铃兰的世界中见证更多美好的风景，携手共度更多珍贵的时光。谢谢大家。
Sword of Convallaria seems to be at a better state than ever, and I can imagine this new expansion to reel in both of the game's veterans and returning players alike. With the new rewards offered by the limited time events, it's also the best time to start your Sword of Convallaria journey if you're a new player looking to get into the game. So consider clicking on the link in the description to download Sword of Convallaria now to support the channel, and we'll see you on the battlefield. Remember to hit like, subscribe if you're new around here, and make sure to follow Turn-Based Lovers for everything turn-based. This has been Leaf, and I'll see you guys on the next one.